We're in almost the home stretch. There's another talk after this one, so I recommend you stick around. It's not listed on the show. It was added today. It's Mike Wolf will be talking with, I can't remember who exactly, from Init, which does guided recipe stuff. So you should stick around for that as well. So there's one more, but first, we're gonna have a fun time here. You're gonna wanna stick around because you're gonna wanna sit for every second of this one. I'm here with Mr. Phil Haig. He's a senior design manager at the Consumer Business Group for 3M. And we're gonna talk about how 3M is riding the retail tsunami. But let's just set the stage, right? I think 3M, I think tape. Educate me otherwise.
It's a lot more than tape. 3M is a $31 billion company, and only about $5 billion of that is consumer products.
Okay.
So we have a huge depth. We're in defense and aerospace. We're in industrial. We have a safety and graphics business group. And tremendous diversity across the organization, which is one of the things I really love about it as sort of a OCD type guy. Being able to work in a lot of different areas week in and week out is a very cool opportunity.
And what are you tasked with? So you go into work every day. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so I am in the consumer business group. So and I lead home care design. And so the brands are consumer-facing brands within home care. Scotch-Brite is our biggest. So you might know that as the sponge brand, celebrating the 60th anniversary of Scotch-Brite this year. And then also Scotchgard and Thinsulate are under my domain as well. So I lead a team of product developers, brand designers. We have a trend person on the team as well. And we're all focused on building the home care business. However, the cool part about it is I sit in the 3M Design Center, which was a push that my boss, Eric Quint, made a few years ago. There were designers spread throughout the 3M organization. You can imagine it's a very complex organization with all the different functions and businesses. And he went and found every designer in the company and pulled all of us together into one design center. So while I'm focused on home care, there's people directly next to me that are working on all these other things. So as a design group, we have visibility of everything that's happening within 3M, which really allows us to cross-pollinate ideas and kind of puts us at the heart of the organization.
Okay. Now, when you say the retail tsunami, what are you talking? What is the retail tsunami that's crashing on our shores?
Well, gosh, I mean, I have worked in consumer packaged goods most of my career as a consultant. I did loads of work with P&G. They were a great client for many years. And, it was pretty reliable, right? The bricks and mortar retail, the whole industry was built around the bricks and mortar experience. How do we measure it? How do we do eye tracking at shelf? What are the different tools we can do to design and build these great experiences for users? And all of that sort of slipping away under this tsunami, of course, due to the rise of online. And one of the stats that blew me away, a company called Big Commerce, they are an e-commerce consulting firm, just published a survey, and they've got how much shopping each generation does online. And for Gen X, it's about, I think, 41%. By the time you get to millennial, they're at 67% of their purchases are done online. And when you think of it in those terms, it's like, wow, that is a tsunami. What is going to happen to all these bricks and mortar relationships that we have at 3M and elsewhere? And so 3M on a consumer side, we rely on our retail partners, and we have a lot of, every bricks and mortar partner you can think of is an important customer of ours. And it's our job to really help them weather this storm and figure out how they're going to move their business forward into what's coming next.
So how does that translate into sort of the tactical things that you do, right? So you have Scotch, the
Scotch Brite.
yeah,
Yeah.
and or like I think I bought 3M filter masks, right?
Yep.
Like if you're in a store, you can kind of get a sense of the product. You can pick it up. Does the bottle feel good? Does it look like it's high quality? Is the price right? Right? I can look and compare things. But if it's online, it's just like, well, here's a picture of it, right? And if it's the top one in the list, then maybe I go for it. Or unless I'm wedded to the 3M brand, I may not necessarily buy that particular
I mean, really,
thing.
we're seeing a lot of polarization in strategy right now. There's sort of two choices to make. Are you going to be about efficiency and providing access to users, making it as easy as possible to get your product into their hands, or are you going to be about delighting and delivering new experience and kind of elevating the conversation? And 3M with our diversity, a lot of our Scotch Brite is very much a functional brand right now. We're looking at a lot of initiatives to bring more emotion in, but so we really do need to focus on that access. How do we improve efficiency and delivery to our users? But there's also businesses within 3M that have already started, on the delight route, and that's really where technology comes in, because the only way to deliver personalized delight in a mass context is through automation, AI, and using data to really customize experiences. So we're kind of covering the gamut right now, from efficiency through to delight. I think the companies that seem to really struggle are the ones that haven't made a choice. They try to be a little bit of both, and I think like Best Buy is one that comes to mind as a company that as a shopper. I don't have a business relationship with them, but some of their experience is very much about sort of cool, delightful engagement, and then there's other parts where they're I get very mixed messages, and so I think for 3M and beyond, it's important that we really choose what side of that spectrum are we going to be on.
Yeah, I think I think you're absolutely right. And I think that delight kind of comes in unexpected ways too, right? I'm based in Seattle. I went to the Amazon Go store, and the process of just walking in, taking what I want and leaving was so delightful, it was mundane. It was just boring. It was just like, well, that's how it's supposed to work.
That's right.
Right? And so it's presented like it's a whole different way of shopping for products.
And that is delight, but I think it's short-lived delight. I don't.
Well, that's what like.
Right.
I think it was like the delight. People were talking like, "Oh, this is amazing," but it was the fact that it just worked.
Yep.
Right? Was just sort of it just became functional.
Yeah, things that actually work, can be very delightful, but then it becomes the standard. Your competitors figure it out. Amazon Go, it's sort of still a secret exactly how all of that works. It seems like they're using a lot of optical, facial recognition and what have you. But there's a company just moved out of stealth mode last week called Paifi, A-I-F-I. And they have the same technology that they're opening up to other retailers, and they're going to build a demonstration store in the Bay Area this year. So, that's no longer just going to be an Amazon thing. Pretty soon that's a lot of other people are going to have access to that. And, so if you do take that operations path, you got to be good at efficiency and squeezing every bit of waste out of your system. And that's really what built Walmart into a juggernaut. That is their mantra. I mean, any bit of waste in that organization or across their supplier relationships, they tackle and get out of there. And so it's a tough game. I mean, either one of them is a tough game, right? Yeah. I mean, you've either got to be great at operations, or you've got to be great at creativity and thinking about what's next and constantly cannibalizing yourself. Replacing whatever business you have now with what you think is going to be big a year from now or 2 years from now.
Yeah, no, that's interesting you brought up Walmart, because they're experimenting with different ways of purchasing products in the store. right? And shelf scanning robots to reduce the amount of time that a shelf might be depleted.
Yep.
Of,
Yep.
you know.
And they've actually rolled out into 100 stores now. The robots, that go up and down the store and help on the operations side. Take all the tasks that supposedly the employees don't like to do. Now they can assign it to robots. But they've also launched Scan and Go in about 100 stores, which they started it in Sam's Club. It's an app that consumers can download, and as they shop, they can scan their items. And when they're done shopping, they can show their receipt on their phone and walk out. So there's no cashier, And so this is Walmart, right? I mean, this is definitely mainstream now. Completely new shopping experience. I've also, heard from Walmart that when they get their consumers to shop both online and in store, they tend to shop twice as much, right? It drives the shopping frequency way up if you have that kind of omni-channel relationship. So you can imagine how an app like that Scan and Go experience might kind of lure people into getting this new experience in store and improving their bricks and mortar experience. But now Walmart has a digital relationship with them. And I imagine they're going to be looking at how do we leverage that in a lot of different ways to access our consumers in more places and at more times.
So I wanted, because they also just were issued a patent this past week for robotic shopping carts, right? So you think about all the data they're going to be able to generate between Scan and Go, knowing exactly where a shopping cart is. What is 3M's relationship on the data side? Are you able to talk about that at all? In terms of if they can follow a shopping cart, do they know where a customer is stopping? Do they know oh, okay, we need to be up higher, or we need to place your products differently?
We're working on a lot of initiatives. Data analytics is a huge strategic initiative for our company. Our CEO talked about that in the last quarterly call, and leveraging data in new ways. We're building a lot of internal resources that are going to allow us to do a lot of new things in that area. A lot of which I personally still am excited to learn about, as well. But it's cool stuff.
Considering you're on this side, what do you look for in a retail experience? When you're going out, and I would assume you probably have different views, right?
Yeah.
There's sometimes you want to just go in, you want to get it, and you want to be done.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the two things, right? Then, so we'll start with just operational. When you go into an operational business, right, or an experience that you expect to be operational, what are you looking for from that?
Well, it kind of goes. I mean, I guess I'll use the Best Buy example, not to pick on them; they're a great company, But I did go in to pick up an adapter, right? I mean, Apple products, they make you buy adapters for everything now, right? And so walking in, and I found the product that I needed, but then the checkout was multiple screens of entering all this data that they were clearly expecting to build a relationship with me, and have that data available when I was really looking to get in and get out for this stupid adapter. So I think that's an example of kind of making the right choices, and I think we would all agree that going to a store in many contexts feels really old-fashioned. I mean, there's been times the last few months where I've been in a store thinking, wait a minute, so I have to find what I want, and then I have to carry it around this place until I'm ready to pay for it. It's a principle of innovation is that when you give users an advantage or a feature in one aspect of their life or one aspect of their experience, that raises the bar for all of the rest of their experience. And I think that's what we're seeing when it comes to efficiency in the retail space. So Nordstrom, bricks and mortar company, they have recently launched a concept store with no inventory. It's in Los Angeles, and It is really a bricks and mortar face for their digital brand. So you go in, they have their website up, on nice screens, monitors. They have stylists there that can help you pick out outfits. They can maintain records of what you bought before and kind of what your wardrobe is about. And they're helping you kind of navigate, curate their web experience. And then they can pull inventory from one of their local stores and get it delivered within an hour or two, and exactly in your size that you need. And it's kind of this neighborhood presence. So you don't need to deal with a big parking lot and so I think that's an example of how, they're a very smart company and really rethinking that experience. What is a more contemporary way to deliver goods to consumers than the old model? An interesting point about that too is they have observed that employee turnover is a lot less, because going to work every day and having to fold mountains of clothing and keep all this inventory organized is not fun. And people that work in this Nordstrom store, they are stylists. They get to be engaging with customers and having good conversation. And it's a very engaging place to work, which in this age of low unemployment is another consideration.
So I want to flip it now to the experience. When you go into an experience, like a store that you want to have an experience in, right? We talked about the two halves.
Yep.
What are you looking for from that experience?
Well, right. So there's definitely the efficiency part. Get in, get out. Don't make me, find a parking space in a massive parking lot, etc. On the experience side, there is a store in Minneapolis called Martin Patrick III, and a couple weeks ago, Forbes wrote about them and called them the hottest retailer in America's hottest retailing city. I just moved up to Minneapolis a couple months ago, so this was kind of exciting for me. So I went and checked it out, and it is a phenomenal experience. The store, it's menswear and as well as home accessories. So it's kind of this like man's life that I want to be like someday, right? Like all of these beautiful products and everything curated perfectly. The merchandising is phenomenal. It's kind of a series of rooms in a historic building, and each room is a different experience and curated, and furniture, clothing, all kind of integrated together from a merchandising standpoint, and they change it up constantly. These guys are very, very creative, constantly reinventing themselves and thinking about what's next. And so it's a place I can go to get inspired. And they part of their story is they kind of lucked out because a lot of the department stores in Minneapolis were going out of business, so they were able to recruit some really great salespeople. And they're all about service. They actually will, they tell you if something doesn't look good on you, and will steer you to lower cost items or even suggest going to a competitor if they think it's the right thing to do. So they're focused on building a really trusted relationship with their customers, which over time keeps people coming back. And if you talk about brand, that's really what brand value is about. A trust and something that people want to keep returning to, like a good friend.
So let's bring it back then to what you do on a daily basis, right? So you've sort of separated these two out, right? Mm-hmm. Operational and experiential.
Yeah.
And where does 3M fall in all that? Like let's just talk about the product that you're responsible for, right? Like, yep. Are you trying to create more experiences, or how are you navigating
we
these
have to be about experience, and so Scotch-Brite brand in particular, we've got a lot of initiatives we're working on around that to bring more emotion in. And right now we're a cleaning brand, which is very, very functional, but we're also a home brand, and people care a lot about their homes, and they spend thousands of dollars on their kitchens, having the perfect space. So we see a lot of territory that we could move into, and how do we take what you might think of as these very mundane cleaning tasks and really inject emotion and personality and something that people care about. So we have to be. I think any brand has to be about emotion. If you get it down to just pure operations, pure efficiency, you become mindless, and that opens yourself up to competitors coming in with something better. So that is definitely our priority, to get to the right emotional context for our users.
Do we have any questions from the audience before we wrap up here? No? Okay. So let's end this way. Like, what do you see, what's a big trend you see this year? What gets you excited just about this retail tsunami? What do you look forward to? What are the opportunities?
The omni-channel concept is really exciting to me. The idea that, because I see it as an opportunity for bricks and mortar, people that have all of this infrastructure and investment in this real estate, being able to really sort of tackle that aggressively and figure out how do we leverage that in an experience where we can use online connections to deliver better experiences for our users. To me, that's exciting. I mean, I love bricks and mortar retail. I love Main Street America, right? And so the fact that there's an opportunity to use technology in a way that kind of brings a lot of the energy back into that world is really exciting to me. And that's what I want to help 3M do moving forward, definitely, with our retail partners.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Please give him a warm round of applause. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.